Hey friends, I'm Daniel Nesbitt, and we're going to have a little bit of fun today. So for the last few days, maybe even the last couple of weeks, I have been playing around in glyphs with no real objective in mind, just having fun, trying different things out. And the whole time I've been doing these things, I've kind of had this in the back of my mind that I really should hit record on one of these things because I think it would just be fun for folks to see how I work. I know there's been the series that I've done on my channel here, but every now and then I like to just go and just try different things out. You know, maybe it's been floating around in my mind, or maybe I just was influenced by something or inspired by something somewhere. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to hit record, and this is going to kind of be one of those whatever happens type deals. To add a layer of fun to this, I've actually got Type Cooker up on my screen because I figured I might as well maybe just do something a little bit fun, a little bit different. I'm just using the starter one because I want a little bit of extra creative liberty here. And I guess really all I'm looking at is just something that excites me. I don't know how else to put this. I genuinely did not go into this with any kind of plan, if I'm being completely honest, but I thought this would be kind of a fun experiment. So I'm just going to refresh this a little bit. We're going to see if anything stands out to me here. A plain capital construction with serif stroke endings, narrow width and some contrast. That doesn't sound too bad. That actually sounds kind of fun. All right. Well, how about we go with that? We'll see if I actually stick to that, but I'm going to hop over here to glyphs and let's see what I can do here. So I'm just going to open this up as a plain document here, and the right-click trick is not going to work for me today. I don't like it when that happens. I could do this, which is kind of annoying, but this is one of those things where I really should have just selected the option for the for having glyphs set up the Latin characters out of the gate, but we got there. So let's go back to this real quick. So construction capitals, serifs, narrow width. I'm just trying to think. I'm gonna probably start with the H here, and I'm just looking at my metrics. I'm just gonna go ahead and set this. My overshoots here is the second column that I'm editing to 15 and negative 15. I'm setting that to 15 because usually when I hold down the shift key, it goes in increments of 10, and actually, you know what? If this is probably going to end up being, it probably would be displayed. I'm actually going to go with 10. And the reason that I'm doing this is out of sheer laziness. I'm not even going to hide it. I'm going to keep the descender in there, even though what I'm doing is not going to require descenders, but I guess we'll just keep it in there because why not? So the ascender is 800. I'm thinking for the cap height, I'm randomly picking numbers here. I'm just going to do 775 and we'll see where that takes us. This also mentioned it being condensed, so I guess we'll do that. And there we go. So just jumping back real quick. Some contrast, which I'm going to use some liberty on that. Plain, I'm going to assume that plain would be like a regular weight or a book weight. So we're going to aim for something like that. And then the serifs, it really doesn't specify what, so we'll see where that goes. So I'm just going to jump in, and I think this was a question some time ago about the width of characters, and just to quickly jump here, I'm going, at least for the moment, I'm going 80 points across here. Usually you see, I think, around 75, 80 units in that neighborhood for a regular weight, and then your bold weights usually get a lot thicker, 120, 130 points, that kind of thing. So that's just good to keep in mind if you're ever doing something like this. And I'm just pulling those numbers off of open source types that I've seen in the past. So if you're curious where I got that from, now you know. But we'll do that, and then for the height here, I'm just going to try 70 for now. I'm also thinking it might be kind of fun, maybe just to kind of play around with where this is going. Like, I could set it in the middle. I think that looks kind of weird. Maybe I could even do, I don't think I've ever done an H where that's a little bit lower. Give that a shot, because why not? So the serif then. I really don't want to do a, I mean, I'm going to start with this, but I really don't want to do a slab serif, because I actually, not a video, but I did a slab serif typeface the other day, and I just not feeling it on this one. So let's just set something like this up here. The height is 46. One other thing I should do actually real quick. So that was 70 and that was 80. I'm just going to go through and make some notes in my dimensions tab here, because ultimately I will forget. I tend to do that. I'm just going to start poking around with some ideas here, at least to kind of block out the shape of this to start. And then once I feel like I've got a direction going, then we'll come back and we'll figure it out from there. So let's take these 2 points, align those up, and maybe I do something like that. So I'm just holding down Shift and using my arrow keys to kind of bump this. But that could be kind of fun. Begs the question then, could we do something like this? That gets a little bit chunky. Maybe I bring these down more. I could. The challenge that I have is, so if I do something like that, it really needs to go more like that. I don't know if I like that, though. Do I like that? We'll roll with it. We'll see how that works. I always wish, too, that this had a distribute tool, so that's 200 points across there. Actually, I have a new plugin, too. Show distance and angle. So what this is doing is this is telling me that's a 9.7 degree angle and 100.4 points that way. So let's see if we can't get this a little bit closer here. So that's 101.4, that's 101.4, there we go. So now I know that that's centered. I also believe that, if you're curious, this is a plugin that I just recently downloaded, and I think it literally is just called Show Distance and Angle. For the curious. I'll just go down and triple check here. Yep, Show Distance and Angle. So that's the plugin that I'm using by Mark to Mark. If you want to look that up in your copy of Glyphs, you can go do that. So, just to carry on where we were at with this here, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to add our lovely serifs. I really do need to look at using components more. I know that's often a topic that comes up in a lot of my videos, people asking why I don't use components. The truth is I should, and to to be honest with you, it was one of those things where when I started learning how to use glyphs, I just kind of hit the ground running, and honestly, I never really took the time to learn. So shamefully, I do not, in a good way, know how to really use components like I should. So there's my dark and dirty secret, if you were curious. I'm actually going to kind of play around with these a little bit more. That's actually kind of a little bit more exciting, I think. We're going to go with that. Oops. Make sure I delete the right thing. Because yeah, I will add, like, it's definitely really cool to see what some people have done with components and how easy glyphs has made it to work with components. So I really have no excuse. But here I am not using it. I'm also going to, because what was this again? Some contrast. And maybe I kind of figured this out a little bit more as I go, but that's about 20 points of contrast because I'm going from 80 to 60. What if I went 55? Well, you know what? I may be pushing the boundaries of that. That may end up turning into a lot of contrast, but there we are. And then I'm just going to go and we'll just quickly space that out real quick. I think... So my intention for this would be probably a display face. So we're going to go with that just for the sake of doing something. And next thing I'm going to do is just grab the eye and we'll add the spacing on there. So yeah, now we're kind of getting somewhere. Next up, so I can start creating some words here. We're just going to keep right on going into the L. And for the L, let's see what I can do. So this is also going to introduce a new element in my serifs here. And for now, at least just to get started, I'm going to riff off of what I did for the vertical serif. But obviously that's going to take some changes. So let's delete those 2 points. I'm going to move... Oops. I'm going to move... Can I move this point? There we go. Move that down there like so. This point can meet up there. This point here can go all the way down to the bottom, so now we kind of get that going on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to really open that up a lot more. And I'll just kind of go with something like that. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to widen this out a little bit too. Visually, I'm kind of looking to make this relate to the other vertical stroke, the main downstroke there. Truth be told, I'm not using any math to figure this out. I'm just kind of using my eye to figure out what looks right. And that does. So then the other side, I'm just going to go ahead and just chop that serif off there. I kind of like that it dips down a little bit below the baseline. So we'll roll with that. And then for the L on that side, I'm going to go with, I guess 20 points looks all right. Not too bad. I'm going to just back this off a little bit when I stand out. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of fun. It's starting to take shape. It's almost got like this, I don't know why I'm thinking of like an old, like, scary movie haunted house kind of vibe going on here. I mean, I don't even know if this is what I expected when I hit play on the stream. This is going to be fun. So what we'll do next for the N I know I don't need serif there. So there'd be a serif there, and then we're actually going to go back to the L real quick, because if I had a component for this, I would be doing something a lot different, but we're going to steal that. We're going to move this up to here. Now, I don't know that this one's actually going to stay put. I may ultimately decide that I just want to get rid of it, but that's fine. But what I'm going to do is just kind of move this so that's lined up. We'll just hide that for now. I think I've got, yep, one more there. So that kind of gives us that thing going on. The other thing I need to do, so the crossbar is 55. Now, when I think about drawing a letter, my upstrokes are going to generally be narrower. Downstrokes will be thicker. That'll be towards that 80 point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in this. We're just going to kind of start getting this built out here a little bit. And I'm just going to eyeball this if you were curious. So it may not be exact, but that's fine. Just close enough is all I'm aiming for here. I'm kind of thinking what would look nice here too is to really have this probably narrow up a lot. Let's try something here. So I'm loosely, I guess I don't even need to loosely, I'm just going to eyeball, so this point is the midpoint. Maybe you'll see where I'm going here in a moment. Let's see if I can get it to, or is this not going to snap? I'm going to just cheat and do it this way. So, I don't think I was too far off. That looks like it's centered, and it is. Alright, so what my thought was to jump back over. I'm going to stop that point there and stop that there. So we'll delete you. And then for these here, we'll delete. Actually, I don't need to delete, I just need to move. So you get where I'm going. Like, I like that thinner point there, and I'm thinking we can do the same here too. So that goes there. This is going to turn into a gigantic mess, by the way. Just being real with everybody on this. And then this is just going to kind of turn into a wreck there, but there we go. So what I'm going to do then is if I grab this point, so now I've got these two here. Let's see, so doing math, I'm 25 units narrow. So 10, 20. So if I did my math right, we're at 60, yep. I'm going to go to 65 for my width. I'm also thinking ahead to this downstroke here, how that's going to look. I'm going to go and just do my best to center this. So 94.5, 91, 92.5, 93.5. Oh, is this not going to... I'm caught in the middle of two measurements, so I guess we'll stick with that one. And then basically just take this. I'm going to rotate that around. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of bring that back like such. I think that's the one that I want to get rid of. Make sure that goes into the overshoot like I want to. And if we take this point and just move it like so. And the reason that I'm doing that is so when I delete that, I have my nice little chunk down here, but everything else looks good too. So with that, then the next thing that I've got to do, and I'm actually going to create a couple ends here just so I can pay attention to what I'm doing a little bit clearer, is effectively going to be going and making this diagonal look about as thick as that downstroke on the H there. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And I'm kind of going back and forth, looking down here, looking up here. So I'm looking at it at a couple different sizes, kind of what I'm intending to be the full size. I guess I don't need that anymore. Kind of throws me off a little bit. Not too bad. I think I could actually go along with this. One other thing too I'll point out if you're curious about these red arrows is this actually points things out. So semi-vertical line is just telling me that these 2 points are not perfectly lined up. If it goes away, then that's why. But I'm not too worried about it when it's inside of a stroke like that. Really not a deal breaker. I'm keeping that on more for when it's a line or a point that actually does kind of line up. So, all right. Oh, and I should actually go back before I get too far. Let's throw some of that on there. Some side bearings. And let's kind of take a look here. So it seems to have a pretty good thing going on. One thing I wish is that I could measure between two things like that. Maybe I can. I just didn't realize I have to be in edit mode for that. So that was 206, that's 210. Let's, if I do H plus 4, I know, so yeah, that's 210. So I know mathematically it probably doesn't need to be perfect like that, but I'm doing that for now. At least it's technically correct. And that's usually not the best kind of correct in type. That's, yeah, I don't really need to worry about it. So, let's move on just to keep things going here. The next thing I'm going to focus on is the T, because we can grab a few elements for that. And for the T, it's just going to be made up of a couple common parts here. So we'll get that taken care of. And then it'll just be a matter of getting things lined up and centered up here. So do something like that. I'm just going to go through pretty much everything but the serifs. We'll get all that centered. That may actually work out pretty well. So H, what did I use? 4 or 30 for those units. Well, let's do 25 for no good reason. The other thing I am wondering, and I don't know if this is going to look goofy or not, but for the sake of trying things, let's see what happens. So look at those 2 points lined up. My thought was to take these two and basically just kind of mimic that shape there. We'll grab these 2 points, we'll just bring them down there. I just kind of wonder if that's, you know, it's goofy. I'm going to roll with it because why not? The 20, I don't know why I have a T in there. The 25, do I like that? I feel like that's kind of tight. I'm going to go back to the 30. At least with things like the, I mean, I know stuff like this is where kerning comes into play, but it seems like it really doesn't benefit from having any tighter spacing for the moment. So we'll roll with that, and yeah, we'll just kind of get some other characters out here. So, oops, not a G. Let's go with an F. And for this one, actually, I'm going to steal the L as well. I think that'd be beneficial. Since I have that bottom chunk, we're just going to flip right into an E. And again, for this one, oops, I got off somehow. Tries again. Yes, I know I could have just realigned it, but I'm just having fun, and laziness was a factor in that. And then what I'm going to do, we're just going to grab this. I guess effectively I gotta make a some sort of serif going on here. So let's determine what that's gonna look like. Obviously that's a bit large. Let's see, for starters, let's at least get rid of that kind of weird line going through there. The other thing I'm going to do is we're going to bump the top in a little bit. I'm going to throw the H as spacing there. Actually, one thing I'm wondering, before I get too carried away with that option, we're just going to push it off to the side. I'm wondering if it just makes sense to have a shorter serif overall, and maybe it does. So we'll go through and we'll just kind of do our same thing here, where I move everybody up into place so we get those angles that we want. I think that might actually work a little bit better. I'm actually going to bump these out just a tiny bit. Maybe a tiny bit more. And more. Oh boy, I'm going to go right back to where I was, wasn't I? I guess we'll find out in a moment if that actually is true. Because it doesn't feel like it should be as thick and as dominating as these two here. Let's roll with that because reasons. The nice part about having a character like this, aside from missing a few elements there, is that actually makes for a pretty quick F. So, because one thing I would normally do as well here is usually you drop this arm down a little bit, but since it's already low, I guess we really don't need to think about that or worry about that. Looking at widths, though, I think I am going to kind of bump these out a little bit. I think that's just going to read a little bit better. So already this is one of those things I'm just going to just pop the N in there for reference as well. Yeah, it kind of looks like it flows a little bit better, and this is one of those things, I've talked about this probably a lot on this channel, not really trusting your eye. So let's go with that. I genuinely have no idea how long this is going to go for. This may end up being kind of live stream-esque where I just drone on for a while, but so far I'm having fun, so we'll just kind of keep it up. So for the O, what I'm going to do, because again this makes sense in my mind, this doesn't exactly mean that it's going to translate into anything useful, but I'm gonna see if this kind of works. So I'm going to grab the circle here. We're going to figure out kind of where everybody meets up. So I kind of get that going on there. We'll get that so that it meets the overshoot area there. I'm going to line those points up as well. Hopefully this makes my job a little bit easier in a moment. We'll grab this, bring it down. Again, same thing. And then make sure I move this in the right direction. So we're kind of getting the outline of what I want here. Next step, for now, this is just going to kind of be a little bit uniform, but that's fine. And then what I'm going to do here is, I think I can just do, yep, correct path direction, so I get that notch out there. The thing I'm going to grab real quick is the crossbar. I know I could use the measuring tool, but I'm not going to do that. So we take this. I'm not worried about this bottom one here. It's really just kind of the top that I'm focused on, so we'll kind of get some of the contrast there. I'll deal with a lot more of this in a second. Actually, there's really no sense in keeping that other one around. Also going to just start doing this a little bit. So the thing with a curve is that it can be a little bit thicker. Question is, how thick? I'm going to go with 10 because why not? We'll adjust those accordingly. That could change. It may very well change. But that at least gets us kind of started somewhere for now. And then I'm basically just going to take this, flip it upside down. Make sure that I get my arrow keys right on my keyboard. Everybody knows what I'm talking about when that happens, right? And then, yeah, we'll just grab these points here, move them down so they meet up with those points. At least this gets me somewhere where I can start figuring out what I want to do. Also, because this is narrow, just realized that's 40 units, so that was probably throwing me off on some level. But we're going to stick with 30 for now because that's easy to deal with. Interestingly, this might actually go a little bit more just to kind of deal with the serifs there, because it actually looked a little bit shorter without. So I have 65% on. That was from a different project for my fit curve thing, which, side note, I absolutely love fit curve. I don't know if there's anyone else who's like a fan of fit curve, like shout out in the comment section if you are, but I've said this in a number of workshops and things. It's like the one thing, like you draw a circle, you hit fit curve to get it to do some shapes here. You just can't help but feel like a type designer when you do that stuff. So pro tip for those starting out, that's fun to play with. Felt like that was worth adding in. Also going to go through just because that line was bugging me. I could go with that for now. I am not too opposed to that. I'm just going to back this down to something a little bit thinner there because that's 60. I'm just going to make note of that real quick here, and this was 80, which I'm fine keeping that 80 because it is such a straight thing there. Yeah, not too bad. Now, one thing I was thinking on this, I know you really can't like serif an O, at least not very easily. But this is one thing that was just kind of sticking in my mind, and this is like it either works or it's going to completely and utterly fail. I'm willing to figure out what that's going to do here. So let's do this and let's see what happens here. So it could be kind of fun just to add some decoration to this. So we'll copy and paste that. We'll just kind of make these look a little bit even. Maybe they don't need to be as pronounced. I don't know. This could be completely dumb. But for now, I'm having fun. So let's keep having fun. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, we tried. So that's about even there. Just something just to kind of shake it up a little bit. And again, this is like definitely like I would not normally do this. I don't think I've ever done this on a letter before. The other thing then, I guess if I'm doing that, oddly enough, I probably need to space that out a little bit more. I mean, that seems alright. Yeah, it's kind of fun. We're going to roll with that, and naturally that is going to lend itself to a few more characters here, so I'm just going to pick on, should we do the D? Actually, yeah, I'm fine with that. E was probably a better character. Update that real quick. As I'm clicking around here. So we'll do something like that. Actually, I can grab this too. So we at least got that part. We'll just grab the section of the O that I want. And so that goes from there to there. That goes around from there to there. That closes everybody up nicely. Make sure that my points will close the way I want them to. And just kind of play around with width here. So we'll do that. And then my trick for this is going to be, what is my trick going to be for this? For starters, I'm inclined to just move the whole thing up, but does that work? I mean, I guess it kind of does. I also need to bump that back to there. Yeah, not bad. Now I'll just do it the manual way. Kind of deciding this on the fly, but I'm also going to add that I'll probably be open sourcing this like I've been doing lately with a lot of my other type that I've been featuring on here. So wherever I end up at today, I don't know if I'm actually going to go through and like totally finish this thing, but I am going to leave this hopefully in a state that folks can pick it up when I'm done doing what I'm doing here and play with it. So keep an eye out for that. Figured that was just worth mentioning while I'm thinking about it at the moment. Now for the C here, and this is something that I'll eventually run into with the G as well. We want this to kind of taper or curve in, otherwise it's going to look rather thick, which is not what we want. Also kind of thinning it up as well, because that makes sense. And make sure that putting all this in the right place. Yeah, I mean, it gets there. I'm hesitant to really close it up anymore. What I'm wondering, again, for the sake of fun, what if do something like that? And my thought is it's something a little bit nicer than just cutting it off. Let's see here. If I do that, I may kind of narrow it up a little bit more too, just to help things. I'm also going to just hit my fit curve thing again. I think the other challenge that I'm running into, just need to bump this center set of points over a little bit more too. I think that kind of helps balance it out some. So with all that, we'll take this piece, we'll do our copy pasta again. Actually, not yet. Don't delete that. Try some, oops. Do not change the kind of curve that it is. I keep hitting my shift key just ever so late enough that I kind of move things around. If you were curious why I keep doing that, I tend to kind of work a little bit fast sometimes, especially as my brain is going a million miles an hour on these things. So let's do something like that for the C. Seems to kind of add up pretty well. And then for the G, we can grab this. I'm just going to kind of loosely aim for the middle there. Now for this one, got to think about how I want to do this. I think it'd be kind of fun to at least acknowledge the shape and size of the serif there, so we're going to do that. We're going to get these points lined up here. Yeah, they're lined up. So we'll get that. We'll bring that down. Oops, do not hit the shift key. Try again. There we go. So something like that.